Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com, both free sites. Today is November the 21st, 2017. Before I get into my preamble, let me just say thank you, Uncle Dash, for those of you involved in the crypto community this morning. Anyway, remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, I have long believed that it's all a gamble. Whatever you're doing in your life, people think that there's some special niche for sports betting, that people who gamble on sports are the risk takers. I just got to tell you, just look at the economy, look at your own life, think about the risks you've taken there. Your choice of where to live, your choice of spouse, your choice of profession, your choice of what to do in your free time, your choice of major in high school or college, right? There's a lot of risk involved. So for me, from this seat, the hedge fund managers who are managing risks well, right? I'm talking about people like Jim Chanos, David Tepper, right? You have your own list. Master investors, people like Jim Rogers, right? Mark Cuban. Those guys are heroes of mine. So too are the people involved in analyzing sporting events. People like, let me pub the industry here for a second, R.J. Bell, Jim Feist, the best NFL football handicapper I know, SBR Report, right? If you have Sirius XM satellite radio, VSIN, outstanding channel, right? Channel 204 here in the United States. Wager Talk here on YouTube, right? You'll have handicappers talking about a lot of factors that go into their pick for a sporting event. And you'll be surprised how often the perceived psychology of the participants come into play, right? Figuring out their motivations, what drives them, why they've accepted the fight. So let me say, I happen to be in Vegas. I like to go to Vegas for big fights, not to attend the fight, but to attend the sports book, seriously. And I was in Vegas for Canelo Chavez Jr., some pre-fight thing that was happening in the lobby of the MGM, right? And I'm just telling you, I show up and I look around and I see a bunch of women. Right? So I thought to myself, wow, you know, Canelo is popular. Right? I kind of assumed it had to be Canelo, not Chavez Jr. Then I noticed a lot of older women my age, a lot of older guys. So then Oscar De La Hoya came out. He was the promoter for Canelo Chavez Jr., right? Canelo is Oscar's fighter. Oscar, very successful promoter. And you know the rest. The women surged forward. These are women who had to be 15 years younger than Oscar. Right? A guy came over to me. You know, the guy said, hey man, is that Oscar De La Hoya? He was excited. I'm just telling you that Oscar De La Hoya, even today, after a great boxing career where he was champion in several weight classes, and after a very successful promotional career, right? Just look at the numbers for Canelo versus Golovkin. In other words, Oscar, very successful as a fighter, very successful as a promoter. I'm just telling you that with the women that were at the event, right? Oscar was at least as popular as Canelo was, right? And I'm just telling you, with the older people my age, I got the feeling they were there to see Oscar more than they were either of the fighters. You're talking about a guy who is an icon, Olympic medalist, right? Multiple divisional champion. The golden boy of Golden Boy Promotions. So what people need to understand is that this guy, with a lot of money, with a lot of fame, with a lot of prestige, right, is driven right now to fight Conor McGregor. People need to look at this carefully. This is why no one really retires in boxing. Just understand the mindset. Different fighters have different motivations. But I'm just telling you, since Oscar makes a lot of money without getting hit in the mouth, right? He's making a lot of money as a boxing promoter. Him wanting to fight McGregor is not about the money. Since Oscar, wherever he goes, is popular with the crowd, right? Him wanting to fight Conor McGregor is not about drawing a crowd. He already does that. It's not about the fame, right? Oscar wanting to fight Conor McGregor is not about the legacy, right? Oscar's fought real elite fighters, right? He fought Felix Trinidad. He fought Sugar Shane Mosley. He fought Fernando Vargas. He fought Julio Cesar Chavez, right? He isn't going to enhance his legacy, in my opinion, by fighting an MMA guy in that guy's second professional boxing match. But yet Oscar's still driven to talk out in the media about how he would knock out McGregor in 2 rounds. Why? Because in my opinion, Oscar is motivated by the challenge. Right? This is the same thing that has Canelo fighting Erislandy Lara, fighting Golovkin, fighting Miguel Cotto, fighting Floyd Mayweather. Right? It's a mountain climber's mentality. Why do they want to climb the mountain? 1, because it's there. 2, because it's a challenge. Right? It's very hard to talk sense to someone who is just motivated by the need to know. Right? For all of his success, Oscar De La Hoya needs to know that he can destroy Conor McGregor. Now, McGregor, to his credit, right, doesn't want to fight a senior citizen. Right? McGregor must have an age limit on the guys he's willing to fight. I know Floyd was 40. Oscar's older than Floyd was. Right? Even McGregor realizes that it wouldn't prove much for him to beat a guy who is in his 40s, right? Who, has been fighting since the early 90s and who hasn't had a fight for several years, right? Even McGregor understands that there are limits. But I want people to understand the drive, because it's the same drive that's motivating Guillermo Rigondeaux, right, in his need to fight Vasyl Lomachenko, a guy who's not even in his weight class. Right? There's some opponents where a fighter just needs to know. Right? It's not like they're fighting for money. The money matters because the fighter wants to feel respected. But there are situations where a fighter just needs to know. So you have an interesting situation taking place right now that's underreported in the heavyweight division. I have to applaud everyone who's involved with this. Now, longtime viewers here know that I feel the best guys in the heavyweight division right now Tyson Fury and Joseph Parker. I understand that's not a popular view. I know there's the bomb squad out there, the Deontay Wilder Nation. I know there are many of you who feel that Anthony Joshua, Olympic gold medalist, 100% KO ratio, represents a new paradigm. I get it. Right from this seat, the best at heavyweight right now are the man who easily beat Vladimir Klitschko, that's Fury, and Joseph Parker, who I personally consider to be the best athlete in the division. So Joseph Parker is negotiating a fight with the division's cash cow, Anthony Joshua. And Parker is willing to take 35%. Now let me say this to the British press. I hope you guys get reporters at every venue where Joshua goes, because it's absurd that Joshua hasn't signed for that fight. You have a guy with multiple heavyweight titles willing to fight for just a little bit more than a third of the gate. If Joshua is a guy who needs to know where he stands, he should take that fight. Will fill the coffers financially, will fill his resume with legacy if he's able to beat another currently reigning unbeaten heavyweight champion. Right? It would add to his credibility in terms of who he fights. Right? But the interesting side of the equation for me is the Parker side. Right? In my opinion, Parker is one of these guys who needs to know. Forget what the boxing press is saying. Forget the hype around numerous other heavyweights. Just understand that Parker has quietly announced that when he beats Anthony Joshua, and I believe Parker feels he's going to win that fight. I don't think he's talking out the side of his neck. I think he feels he's going to win that fight. Parker has announced that the opponent he wants to fight after that is Tyson Fury. Now just understand how important this is. Fury, at least the last time I saw him in the news, was out of shape. Right? He wasn't in high fighting shape. Right? And of course, he's having a problem getting licensed. Right? Because in the UK, I don't know what's going on in the UK, but you practically have to be Usain Bolt or Bo Jackson to get a boxing license. You have to be some freak athlete to qualify for a boxing license in the United Kingdom. Well, let me say this. What Parker is doing here is he's giving Fury a good 9 months to get in shape. Understand, Parker's saying, look, I haven't even signed to fight Joshua yet. When I sign to fight Joshua, we're going to have to promote the fight. Right? We're going to have to then do a training camp on the fight. The fight's not going to happen this year. It's going to happen next year. And it's going to happen on a date where we're going to get a huge crowd. They're promotional responsibilities. So what Parker is saying is, if I unify Joshua's belts with my belts, the next man I want to fight is going to be a guy who, quite frankly, is an Ali figure right now. An unbeaten heavyweight champion who, for certain reasons, was unable to continue his reign. I feel that Joseph Parker wants to be the best, but more importantly, he needs to know whether he can beat Tyson Fury. Right? This is in an atmosphere where Fury isn't being taken as seriously as Deontay Wilder, as other Dylan White, who seems to be in the news a lot for some reason. Right? Forget the hype, forget the noise. Just understand Parker's motivation. He needs to know. This is spiritual. Right? He's a boxer who wants to be the best. And what that means is he's going to fight the best. Even when his opponent isn't viewed as the best by the public. Worse yet, he's going to give his opponent an opportunity to get in shape to be his best for the fight. Right? For that, let me just say, let me give both guys a standing ovation figuratively. Right? I hope Fury accepts the challenge. I hope Parker follows through with it, because you know there are money people in the background who I'm sure are telling him you'd make more money fighting Deontay Wilder. Right? But Parker is saying, look, I'll take 35% against Joshua. Right? Joshua not signing that contract too quickly. You notice that? I'll take 35% against Joshua, then I'll fight Fury. Keep an eye on the heavyweight division, folks. It's riveting right now. Now let's get back to Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux, two-time Olympic gold medalist. Unbeaten. Beat Nonito Donaire when that was viewed as up in the air. Right? When we talk about great defensive fighters, it's malpractice not to list him in the top 10. Great fighter, future boxing Hall of Famer. It's not enough. There's another guy out there with 2 Olympic gold medals. He's inside Rigo's head. He's not even in Rigo's division. Rigondeaux could easily say, look, I'm going to fight the guys in my division. You know, it's like, that's fair, right? That's fair. You know, don't expect me to fight a guy two weight classes up, even with the rehydration clause, right? Because that's too big. He could easily go that route. No, he's not going that route. He's going the Oscar De La Hoya route, right? He's calling out Lomachenko, calling him out. It's Rigo who demanded the fight. Think about it. You know what's going on here. Rigo with 2 Olympic gold medals is thinking, I can beat this other guy with 2 Olympic gold medals. I don't even think, I don't even think Rigo is too worried about what the rest of the world thinks. He feels he can beat Lomachenko. He demanded the fight against a bigger opponent. Keep in mind, Rigo has more to lose because Loma already has a loss. Rigo's the only unbeaten guy in this match. Now let me just say, there's a flip side to guys who are driven to take on big challenges. And that flip side is sometimes these guys aren't seeing things clearly. Right? Oscar De La Hoya is not thinking about the fact that he's in his 40s. He's not thinking about the fact that, you know, McGregor probably has improved a bit since the Floyd fight. Right? McGregor now has experience. McGregor now knows that stamina is an issue. He might fight a little bit differently. Right? I can say in my pre-fight video to that McGregor-Floyd fight, I was actually saying, hey, McGregor's going to have stamina problems. I wanted McGregor to just stand around for a few rounds. Right? Just imagine how that fight would have been a little bit different. If Floyd's standing around in the early rounds like he was, and McGregor was just standing around in the early rounds, When Floyd got going, McGregor would have had more of a full tank. Well, let's think about Rigondeaux against Lomachenko. Why, in my opinion, it's a rematch. Excuse me, it's a mismatch. I know Rigondeaux feels he's going to win, feels he's going to shock the world. But as I've said in a prior video, he's fighting a guy who's not only bigger, but who's younger, and more importantly, who's faster. Look at the hand speed. Look at the foot speed. Lomachenko, simply put, is a better athlete than Rigondeaux. Understand, sometimes the fighter is the last to know. Who are the people around the fighter? People hoping to get paid if the fighter wins? Promoter, manager, etc., cut man. Right. Which one of them is going to step forward and say, player, you're not the athlete Lomachenko is? Right? Understand, you need a guy who isn't relying on you to pay his mortgage. You need a guy like a Dundee or an Emmanuel Stewart or a Nacho Berestein or a Freddie Roach. A guy who has a stable of other fighters. So if the guy hurts your feelings and you say, that's it, you're fired. Right? The guy can go about his business knowing that he's wealthy enough to tell you the truth. I'm not sure if the people around Rigondeaux are telling him the truth. Right. If he thinks he's remotely the athlete Lomachenko is, he's kidding himself. Right? Understand, too, the styles don't mesh. Rigondeaux is a guy in his 30s, well into his 30s, who is a counterpuncher. Right? Lomachenko's a switch. By that I mean Loma comes out and he doesn't have to wait on you. While Loma certainly can counterpunch with the best of them, Loma can also be a lead. So Loma, if he wants, never really has to box Rigondeaux. He can come in, throw a combination, then just back out. Rigondeaux doesn't have the legs to follow him around the ring. Judges are going to see a bigger man coming in, throwing combinations, getting back out. Right? Understand, the way to really frustrate a counterpuncher, especially one whose reflexes have dimmed a little bit because Father Time's record is 100%. Right? Rigondeaux's waiting for an opening. You come in and throw combinations, Sugar Ray Leonard style. You just let your hands go and stuff. A counterpuncher is going to see left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Let's just say it's going to be hard for them to find the opening. Also, Rigondeaux's a southpaw. Lomachenko's ambidextrous. Loma can fight right-handed if he wants to. Loma can fight left-handed if he wants to. He's not going to be thrown by Rigondeaux's southpaw stance. Loma also can be high volume. Go back and look at the CompuBox numbers for that Nonito Denier Rigondeaux fight. Nonito at that stage of his career was lower volume, was loading up on power shots. Understand, Loma doesn't have to do that here. In fact, I think it's a mistake if Loma goes for the KO. Because these crafty counterpunching guys in their 30s want you to view them as small, want you to come in and try to overpower them. Shane Mosley against Floyd Mayweather, right? Look closely at Floyd's career. You're going to see a bunch of guys, Marcos Maidana, Victor Ortiz, who fell right into Floyd's trap because they came in, pursued Floyd, stayed in the pocket, gave Floyd something to counter. Now here, what the faster-handed, faster-footed, higher volume Lomachenko should do is just come in and flash combinations and get back out. Rigondeaux won't be able to find him. He won't be able to counter the hand speed. Mix up the looks. Come in righty, come in southpaw, but don't stick around. Fight in bursts, right? 10-second bursts here, get back out. 10-second bursts here, get back out. Overwhelm him, right? Let me just say, too, that the biggest mismatch here is in the footwork. Lomachenko has spectacular feet, folks. Spectacular feet. So he's going to be able to come in at side angles. He's just going to be able to be moving much more quickly and diagonally than Rigondeaux. So this is a fight where the older man needs to know. And what he's going to find out, he's not going to like. He's going to find out that the bigger fighter is the better athlete. And that he can't set up his power counters. Right? Just won't be able to do it. Let me say this too. I know a lot of people are going to say, look, you know, Rigondeaux, the shorter man, can get low and show us defensive mastery. Right? I'm just here to tell you that Lomachenko can get low. Lomachenko has very good balance. Let me also say, in many ways, this is the Floyd Mayweather-Manny Pacquiao fight. Only Lomachenko is still in his prime. And unlike Pacquiao, who was left-hand heavy, Loma actually is ambidextrous. Right? Loma left and right. Right? So, I know Floyd beats Manny Pacquiao. Floyd is the Rigondeaux in this analogy. But let's face it, Manny and Floyd fought 5 years too late. What would have happened if they fought in their primes? What would have happened if Manny wasn't a predictable guy loading up on straight left hands? If Manny was actually a stylist who was southpaw some of the time, orthodox some of the time, rather than straight right hand, he comes in flashing combinations of several different types of punches. Right? Lomachenko made a mistake against Orlando Salido. He stayed in the pocket too long in that fight. Salido took away his body. Right? This is professional fighting. This is not amateur fighting. Because of that fight, I don't think Loma makes the same mistake. I think he's going to have I think he's going to have Rigondeaux looking as slow-footed as Nicholas Walters did against Lomachenko. I think Lomachenko wins big here. I think the size gap is going to shock a lot of people at the beginning of the fight. I know that there's a rehydration clause in, but understand, Lomachenko is not exactly Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Canelo, Danny Jacobs. This isn't a guy who yo-yos much in weight. Right? I think Rigondeaux needs to know. That's why he took this fight. I think it's one of the worst decisions he's made as a professional fighter. I'm expecting Lomachenko to win that fight big. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.